Hello and welcome back. David Leith recently told us about how his father, World War II Spitfire pilot Russell Leith, and 4 Aussie squadron mates gate-crashed Winston Churchill's warship HMS Enterprise in July 1944, just after D-Day. David tells us the story.
When 5 Australian Spitfire pilots recently gate-crashed Churchill's warship lying off the Normandy beachhead, they were welcomed by a young Navy lieutenant from Perth. The young man, who had the honour of sailing with the British Prime Minister, was Lieutenant Peter Taylor. And here's the story of how he came to be welcoming 5 Aussie pilots on board Churchill's ship off the coast of Normandy. These, in quotes, gate crashes, had found earlier that it was hard enough to get near the British Prime Minister on his visit to the battle area, but to get on board a ship seemed impossible. Pilots from other squadrons had to cancel plans to visit ships at the beachhead because of the presence of the VVIP, and there were plenty of military police around. But the 5 Aussies blandly went to the beach and were sticky-beaking when a jeep pulled up and a bulky figure in a raincoat and cigar got out. We heard it. If it's in the local paper, it must be true, mustn't it? Good Lord, it's winning, declared Flight Lieutenant Pat McDade of Casino in New South Wales, in such a loud surprise that the Prime Minister grinned and gave the V sign. The Australians hastily pulled themselves into line and saluted, with Pilot Officer Athol Rice of Armidale, New South Wales, wearing his cap back to front. When Churchill went to sea in a launch, it was too much for the Australians. Somehow they got a boat and stooged around his cruiser until invited aboard with much ceremony. Their much-worn greasy blue battle dresses did not quite tone with the spotless quarterdeck, but naval officers, including Lieutenant Peter Taylor of Perth, gave them the warmest welcome, their first meal of fresh meat for more than a month. As they left in their boat, McDade and flying officers C.R. Leith at Rose Bay, he lived in Sydney at the time, and D.S. Murray of Melbourne stood up and ceremoniously fired an 18-gun salute with their revolvers. But before they left the ship, they did something wonderful. Peter Taylor pulled out this 100 franc banknote, and down the bottom, as you can see, he wrote, "Guests of Peter Taylor, Lieutenant, Royal Australian Navy Volunteer Reserve, HMS Enterprise, 23rd of the 7th, 1944. And on it are the signatures of those people in the wardroom that day on Churchill's warship. And on the top left, in the grandest signature of all, you'll see Donald Smith, who is the squadron leader you saw in the earlier photograph. And underneath in that circle, the white circle, C.R. Leith, my father, RWF 453 Squadron, and then other names. Further in, Kinross, West, Rice, who we've heard about, Murray and McDade. But not only did that happen, but that banknote survived because, as we discovered later, Peter brought it back to Perth. And after he died, someone threw it in a skip bin. In fact, it was part of like a scrapbook, and there it sits on the page of the scrapbook of Peter's. And then one day, sitting in the skip bin, somebody walked past, glanced in, as you do when you pass a skip bin, and thought, that's interesting, and took it out and kept it, and eventually sold it on eBay to the Chaplins, John and Catherine Chaplin, who have this wonderful museum, Recollections of War, in Denmark. And it's a private museum, but they welcome people who are interested in the material that it contains, and it's a vast, vast hoard of war material that anyone of any interest would find fascinating. And so therefore it's the events of 1944 June have been connected with Western Australia, Denmark, 2022.
The tradition of marking an historic event by signing a banknote has a rich tradition. These banknotes became known as Snorters, or short snorters, and are now sought after by collectors. wanting to be remembered is a universal longing. Creating a keepsake of your buddy's signatures to mark an occasion, especially in war, would be natural. How then did these become known as snorters or short snorters? Snort is slang for a mixed drink, and short specifies less than a full measure. According to a November 2002 article in the Numismatist, about 100 years ago, a short snort was a slang expression for less than a full shot of liquor. Pouring short snorts guaranteed barkeepers a little extra profit in each bottle. Also, drinking only a short snort allowed the imbiber to honestly point to his moderation. Years before federal aviation regulations, pilots discovered that alcohol and airplanes do not mix, and pilots who drink heavily did not live long. Soon, pilots jokingly were calling each other short snorter. When the short snorter was signed, usually a banknote, the collector would have to produce it upon request. If not, they are bound to give the signer a drink. Saving foreign and military issue currency as both a sign of their worldliness and as a record of their exploits also appealed to those overseas during wartime. These are symbols of shared experience and, with the proper context, tells a unique story of an individual's service. Membership in the club exploded during World War II as a staggering number of servicemen and women sailed the seas and traversed the skies. The short snorter became synonymous with completing transoceanic flights or marking a shared experience. Many examples of short snorters survived the war. Like a portable logbook, short snorters became a visible representation of the places and experiences. Paper money makes the ideal souvenir. Banknotes have an intrinsic financial value, take up little space, are often aesthetically pleasing, and contain cultural and historical nods to their country of origin. They are tangible reminders from elsewhere that can summon powerful memories, spark meaningful conversation, and, in the case of short snorters, support research and discovery. Today, short snorters are valuable research tools and reminders of unity of purpose, camaraderie, and light-hearted fun that carried veterans through. Here are some examples of short snorters. Thank you for watching. Comments always welcome. Please like and subscribe to promote content.